The next dish I'm going to make is actually an eggplant dish. It's one that I came up with over time, kind of perfecting using some Japanese eggplant, these guys here, this long purple eggplant like this, and some mushrooms. And it's a really nice savory dish that's really good. I do it in the Instant Pot because it's really easy to work with, but let's have a look at how that comes together. So with me in the Instant Pot, what I like to do is start off by making the mushrooms separately and then add the eggplant into it. So I start off with some oil, some garlic, and then I take my mushrooms and I start getting them ready. So these mushrooms that I found were at the Asian market, and they're actually a really nice mushroom that's sort of a, it's called a flower mushroom, but it's in the shiitake family. So I'll cut those up and put them in here, and they make a nice, delicious base to kind of go along with it. It augments the flavor of the eggplant, so I think it's kind of an important thing to put in there. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and lid it up and cook these for 2 minutes and then let the pressure release manually so that I get a nice texture on them. If I cook them with the eggplant, I found that it doesn't work out so well. The eggplant, I like to use the Japanese eggplant, as I mentioned early on, and I like to just cut them in big chunks. And the bigger the chunk is, the better this dish will be, because you get these chunky pieces of eggplant that'll be left in there. If you dice it up too small, the chunks will sort of disappear. They're still tasty, but you don't have that sort of mouthfeel. So I think it's important to put them in this way. Now the Instant Pot is ready, the mushrooms are done, so I can go ahead and open it up, and man, the smell coming out of it when the mushrooms are done is really nice. I'll go ahead and give it a little quick stir, try and deglaze the pan a little bit, and add a little bit of water and some of my vegetable bouillon. And that'll give it a little more flavor as it cooks. I just get that in there, so that way when it steams and steams down the eggplant, it'll make it really nice. And I throw all my eggplant in there, just get it all ready. And once it's all in, I go ahead and lid it up and close it up again and do another pressure cook. And this one's again for just a couple of minutes. That's all I need, is a couple of minutes on a pressure cook to get this really nice and get it to start to melt down. While that's cooking, I'll go ahead and start preparing the sauce that's going to go on it. The sauce is what really gives this the body, and it needs a couple of ingredients. It needs some ginger to give it that base, and I like to use a lot of ginger. It's just my way. It uses scallions, so I cut up about 4 or 5 and get them ready. I'll add them later. I use some soy sauce. The soy sauce gives it some umami for a little bit of flavor, and I like to use a splash of dark soy sauce too, and this one is really good because it gives it a little more vibrance, just a little more texture in there. And then I'll use some oyster sauce, and the oyster sauce that I use is actually really nice. This one's a mushroom oyster, an oyster mushroom sauce, rather than being actually made of oysters. In that case, I get something that's a vegetarian option, so I don't have to worry about it. Then I use a little bit of rice vinegar, and the rice vinegar rounds out that sort of flavor to give it a little bit of everything. A little coconut oil just to give it a little more depth to it, just a tablespoon or two just to kind of get it going. And then from there, it's really just some tapioca starch and some sugar. And those are the only ingredients I put in there. I give it a good mix. And then when the Instant Pot is ready, I open it up. I do the quick release to let the steam come out. And when it's ready, you can see that it's partially cooked, or mostly cooked at this point. And I'll add my sauce to it. And as my sauce starts to meld into it, you start to get the flavors coming together. Now I'll put it back on saute mode for a moment and then let that start to mix together. And that way I'm getting all these flavors kind of mixed in and getting something really kind of flavorful with a lot of depth to it. You can see that maybe a little bit here, that the eggplant is starting to break up a little bit, which is fine. I want the eggplant to break a little bit. I still want good sized chunks, but I don't need huge chunks in there. And now I'll let it sit for a couple of minutes until I'm ready to eat it.